Vanakkam. Welcome to our course on SAP PP and MM by in Consulting and Training. In this session, we will be diving into a crucial element of production planning, that is routing. What is routing? Simply put, it is the backbone of production process. It defines the step-by-step path that materials take through machines, work centers, and operations to get transformed into components or semi-finished goods or finished goods. By end of the session, you will understand what is routing, why it is important, what are the key elements of routing like operations, work centers, how to create and manage routings in SAP with hands-on demonstration. This is a must-know topic if you are working with SAP PP as it directly impacts production efficiency, costing, and scheduling. So stick around and let us master routing together. Before going to the session, let us see the answers for the quiz we discussed in the last session. Only machinery can be defined as work center. True or false? False. Because individual person like labor, production line, manufacturing cell also can be defined as work centers. Work centers are defined only for production purpose. True or false? This is also false. Work centers are defined for quality management, costing, and capacity planning. What is the difference between available capacity and required capacity? Available capacity is the maximum capacity existing for a work center. Required capacity is the load arrived from production plant, considering the standard time defined in routing. If available capacity is not sufficient to meet required capacity, on temporary basis, it can be managed by adding shift or outsourcing. For long term, work centers may be required to be added, that is investment. How do required capacities are arrived at? Required capacities are arrived at by multiplying number of working hours based on shifts, breaks in between, that is during the shift there may be break like food break or cleaning or some other things, and also what is the designed capacity utilization and how many work centers are there. One work center can be used for more than one routing. True or false? Yes, we can use the work center for more than one routing. Backflush can be defined at the work center level. True or false? Yes. Backflush can be defined at material level, work center level, and also in routing. Can we define the default control key and the work center? Yes, we can define it. Once we define the default control key in work center, while using the work centers in routing, default control key will be applied to into routing. At the same time, in routing definition, if we want to change the control key, we can change it. In the last few sessions, we were discussing on the master data like bill of materials and work centers. Now, we continue to discuss about routing. Now, let us see the master data overview in SAP. Before running any process or transaction in SAP, we need to create a comprehensive master data, whether it is discrete manufacturing or repetitive manufacturing or process industry manufacturing. When we set up the master data in the right sequence, it is easier so that all the master data would be linked with each other with the predecessor and successor relationship. The sequence of master data creation are: first, material master is created for the finished product and also the components which are going to be used and the raw material which will be used. And then bill of materials are created, which are the list of the components to produce the product. And then work center is created. This is the place where the production will happen. And then routing is created, that where the operations and how the operations will be created along with the standard timings. And then combining this routing and the product which is going to be produced and linking the bill of material, production machine is created. So far we discussed material master, bill of materials and work centers. In this session we will be talking about routings. So what is routing? Routing is a sequence of operations to produce a product, which means what are all the series of operations we are going to produce, that is defined in the routing. These are the various activities which are required to transform a raw material or component into a finished product. The routing defines what are all the work centers and what are the operations to be carried out, in which work center it has to be carried out, and what is the time it is going to take, and what are the materials which are going to be used, and which are all the special tools, jigs, etc. will be used in the production. These are all defined in the routing. The operation details are defined for each operation based on the production quantity, production time, and the relevant unit of measurement. And we need to assign work centers in the routing, which should have the standard value key. Hope you remember our discussion about standard value key in work center discussion, where we have set up the standard values like a setup time, processing time, production time, tear down time, etc. The work center has to be linked to the routing. Let us understand about routing with a simple example. There is a bill of material where a raw material has to be converted into a component. So here raw material is the child material in the bill of material and the finished component is the header metal in the bill of material. So it starts with the bill of material. This raw material has to go through various operations. What are all the various operations? For example, cutting. We have to take a rod, then we have to cut them into small pieces, and then we have to do some inner grinding, that is ID grinding, and then it has to be done with heat treatment, and then there is outer grinding. Finally, we are getting the finished component. These are various operations. These operations have to be performed in some work centers. So what are the work centers? The work centers, let us say, for cutting it is SG001, for grinding it is SG002, for heat treatment SG003, and outer grinding SG04. I am telling you these examples. These are 4 different work centers. Now there is a material which has to be converted from raw material to finished goods, finished component. What are the different steps? The step-by-step path is given here, like cutting, ID grinding, heat treatment, OD grinding, which work centers also we defined. Now each operation under each work center, what is the timing it is required? So it is defined as the standard time. For example, in the first work center, setup time is 30 minutes. And to process one piece, it takes 15 minutes. And labor, it takes 30 minutes per piece, mean labor minutes. It may be 2 labor, each labor per 15 minutes is required, like that. Okay. Like this, we have to define the standard time for each work center. This is completing the basic of a routing. The bill of material, what are the operations, work center, and the standard time. Apart from this, there may be requirement to use in the work centers like fixers, tools, those kind of things for each operation. For example, in cutting, we may need a cutting tool. In case of grinding, we may need some special tool. On other places, we may need some other treatments. So in these things, we need to define the tools. They are called as production resource tools. So this is a complete set of routing process. Hope this is clear with this example. There are basically 3 production types that we discussed in our first lesson. The production types are based on what is the frequency of production, what is the complexity of the production, and what is the stability of the production. We saw 3 production types, hope you remember. Discrete manufacturing, production planning in process industries, and then repetitive manufacturing. These are the 3 production types we discussed. For each production type, there will be different routings are used. For discrete manufacturing, standard routing is used. These are created with the transaction CA01. The task type is used as N. What is task type and how to use them, we will discuss in the next lesson. And then reference operation sets is a reference routing which is created so that it can be referred to create the routing common for multiple materials. Right? So this is the base how that reference operation set will be used. In this course, we will discuss how to create standard routing. Based on the knowledge you gain from this, you will be able to create reference operation set, which you will be practicing yourself. For repetitive manufacturing, rate routing is used. These are created with transaction CA21. Task type is R. Similar to reference operation set, there is a reference rate routing. which is created to create the reference for the template for the rate routings. There is a difference between standard routing and rate routing, which we'll discuss later in this session. For process industries, master recipe is used. These are created with the transaction C201. Task type is 2. This is similar to standard routing. So in this course, we will be discussing about standard routing, right? So the reference routing and the master recipe, these things will not be discussed in this course. If time is there, if somebody needs, we'll cover it later. But as a regular course flow, we'll be covering standard routing. So what are the features of the routing? To create a routing, the creation of work center is mandatory, because this is the place where production is going to happen. Without that, we cannot create the routing. So creation of work center is mandatory. Also, multiple materials can follow the single routing. For example, you have a sequence of operation. First is cutting, then welding, then finishing. Many materials can follow this, right? So one routing can be used by many materials. And routing is used for scheduling and costing of operation from the raw material to the finished goods. How the cost will be happening, how the scheduling has to happen. Those things are taken care by routing. Routing is also used to calculate operation cost for the finished product. How to do the operation cost. This is very important. It's not only material cost is required for the finished product, but we need to also know what is the operation cost, right? So these are the features of routing. And SAP production planning has different levels. The routing, SAP PP routing has different levels in the structure, which are having like a header, and then you have the header details, sequence details, operation details, and then you have the BoM component allocations. In this course, we will be discussing about header, sequence, and operation details and BoM components. The QM inspection characteristic. This is part of the QM module, quality management module, which is the concept is similar, but we have to apply some parameters according to the quality requirement. That will not be covering in this course. And then we have PRT and trigger point assignments. Here I will just brief what is PRT, what is trigger point. PRT, or they are called as production resource tools. PRT means production resource tools. These are used for testing during the production, or it may be some specific fixers or tools which are used to produce the product. So these are called PRTs. PRTs may be material PRT, or it may be equipment PRT, or it may be document PRT, right? Based on the need, whether material PRT has to be created, equipment PRT has to be created, document PRT has to be created. To create material PRT with the regular transaction MM01, it is created. For equipment production resource tools PRT, transaction IE01 is used. For instruction guide or the document PRT, CV01 is used. Right? These are the three ways to create it. And then what is a trigger point? SAP trigger point is an object which is assigned to an operation in routing to trigger a certain function. We can trigger certain business functionality using these trigger points, where an operation or production order status is changed. In SAP, production orders are created with statuses. For example, created, released, confirmed, like this. Based on the change in the status of each operation, we can trigger another operation. That is the purpose of trigger point. For example, if there is a production operation, once this is completed, only next operation has to be released. If that kind of condition has to be there, using trigger point, we can do this. Also, when there is a rejection or a scrap is entered for one operation during confirmation, automatically a rework order has to be created. Then a trigger point can be triggered there. That is what is the trigger point usage. In this course, we will not be discussing in detail about PRT assignment or these trigger points. And you are suggested to practice these points by yourself. There are a lot of inputs are available on the internet. When you search them, you can find them and you can practice them. So here, as I said, we will be covering the regular inputs of what is routing, the header details, sequence details, operation details. Now let us talk about what is the relationship and what are the details which are coming from work center routing. As we discussed in the routings, the work centers are having default values, activity types, stand value queue, stand value control, formula keys, all those things we discussed. right? So there are many data in the work center which are there, which are going to affect the operation, because this is where we are going to produce a product. Default values, where we have the operation control key, and these are copied from the work center to the operations. The control key determines what are the operations which has to be carried out. What are the functions of control key? We'll discuss in the next lesson when we create the routing. And then activity types are affecting how the operation has to be costed, which kind of activity type have, and how the costing has to be carried out. This is we can define using activity types. Then standard value key assigned with the work center, they consist the standard value parameters like what we discussed now: setup time, processing time, labor time, those kind of things, for which we have to fix what is the time in the routing. And then where in the work center where the operation is performed, so we have these different standard values which are checked and controlled, which are carried out from these work centers. Also we have the formula keys which are defined in the work centers, which are used to calculate capacity, scheduling, and also costing. These are formula keys which are coming from work centers. So this is what is the link which is coming from work center to routing. Now you know how the master data creation sequence is built here. First, when we create work centers, many values are passed to routings as a default. Okay. And then bill of materials. When you create the bill of materials and we are assigning the bill of material to a product, initially all the items from the bill of materials, because bill of materials is telling what? It is telling what are the components to be produced. Routing is what? Routing is what is the sequence of operations the production will be carried out. So when you initially create the routing, when you assign the bill of material to this routing, all the items of bill of material will be copied automatically to the first operation, which is operation 10 in the routing. Okay, this is the default. At the same time, if you want to assign some component to different operations, it is possible. For example, items first and second items have to be assigned to first operation. For example, when doing the cutting, only some components are used. But when you're doing some welding, we want to add something more, which is a third operation, you can add this material, right? So in production process, it doesn't mean that all the metals you have to use in the first operation. Some metal may be added in the second operation, some metal may be in third operation, some metal may be added in fifth operation, like this. To have this where the operation the metals are used, accordingly you can use it. Another example, if you take, if you are producing like a liquid manufacturing and packing. Another liquid manufacturing, the first operation is like mixing. In this, only the raw material used to mix the liquid is used. There we don't use packing metal. But there is a second operation where there is a packaging. We use the bottle and fill the liquid. So bottles will be used in second operation only. So like this, which operation needs which material, we can do this in the routing. How to do it, we'll discuss in the next lesson. Now there's a normally that we know will be interested to know that what is the difference between standard routing and this rate routing, right? Standard routing and rate routing. So standard routing is, as we saw, it is created through transaction CA01. Rate routing is created with CA21. And the standard routing is applicable for discrete manufacturing. Rate routing is used in depurative manufacturing. Standard routing is created with the operations where we have the production quantity is decided the base quantity, for which we give what is the fixed duration time, like a setup time, processing time, those things. In case of road routing, we define the timings first, then according to this quantity, according to the time that how much you have to produce, right? That according to the rate routing will be used. The rate routing here the production quantities are maintained based on the individual items and reference and operation. Reference time is constant. So rate routing describes the quantity of an item that must be produced with a given period of time. So in given period of time, how much you can produce. That is what rate routing is there, right? And routings are used directly with the production orders. Rate routing is defined, and then based on the quantity, it will be used, the rate routings. And then routings are, standard routings are used for order-based costing. But rate routing are used for period-based costing. They are used for the period-based costing. And remaining functions remain the same. Like we have to assign the work center to the routing and rate routing. We have to assign the standard value key. And then in both the cases, we can do the parallel sequence. And both the types, we have to assign the materials. All these things are common thing. So main difference is that this is for discrete and this for repetitive, and routing are determined where the basic quantity remains a constant. Time related data like setup time, processing time are fixed. But in case of rate routing, production quantities are maintained on the basis of individual items and reference time is constant. Like that it is fixed in the rate routing. So when you practice them, the standard routing and rate routing, you will be able to appreciate this difference. Okay. Now theoretically when you discuss it, it will be difficult for you to see that what is that. But when you put them, you can understand. Okay. Now let us come to the routing. So routing, to create routing, as usual, we know that now how to create the metal master, how to create work center, how to create BoM. Hope you remember T code for metal master creation is MM01, T code for bill of metal is CS01, T code for this one, right? Work center like CR01. Like this T codes we discussed. Now for routing creation, the menu path is shown here. Production, master data, metal routings. Then you have this CA01 standard routings. So here we are going to discuss only standard routings. We are not going to discuss about the reference operation sets, the rate routings or other things. Those things I ask you to practice by yourself. Now the T code is CA01 to create the routing. When you create the routing, it starts with this is the screen where you have to create the routing. Once you put CA01, system will open the screen. First you have to enter what is the material for which you are going to create the routing. Now in this example, I am creating routing for the material called HGMC S001 GM1001. Then we have to put which is the plant in which you are going to create the routing. This is the plant number. This is the main point, key date. Key date is the date from which the routing is valid. If we create any production order starting from the date of 24th March, this routing will be applicable. If there are some production order which are before this date, the routing will not be applicable there. So that is the validity date of the routing. If you are keeping this key date as a blank one, system will take the date on which we create the routing. Right? On the date what we create, that date will be taken as the effective date. So please take note it. If you want to have some routing date applicable from the past date, for example, when you are creating routing today, for example on 10th September, but it has to be applicable from 1st September or from 1st June, then you have to put that date. Mostly in case of any new SAP migration or a new data migration, at that time past date may be useful, right? So please take note of this date. As we discussed in the last session on fundamentals of routing, we discussed that there are different details in the routing, which is having header details, sequence details, operation details, components, QM inspection characteristics, PRT and trigger assignment. In this course, we will be discussing about header details, sequence details, BoM and operation details. I already told you, you please practice for the QM inspection characteristic along with the QM consultants. And then you can practice the PRT and trigger point. There are many inputs available in internet. You can practice that. That is not a major issue. That after learning the fundamentals, that will be easy for you to do it. Now, when you are creating the routing, what are the things we have to do? These are the things. See, many people are asking, sir, why are you not showing this live show here? See, here I am not to give the spoon feeding of the screens. I just give you the input. So if you practice it, you will learn much better way. Instead of I show the transactions based on the inputs what we are discussing here, you can, when you practice yourself, you will learn much better. I am sure about it. So here please focus on the contents what is covered here. Then you start to practice it. That will help you a lot. Okay. Now when I are creating the routing, first this is called the header page. When I are creating the routing, this is called header page. In this header page, first we start with the general data. That already before that, if you see, there is a group counter here, right? There is a group counter. So this group counter 1 means when you create a routing, default system will create a counter number, right, for each group. And then there will be a description, the metal master description what we gave, that the name will default appear here for this routing. Plant will also automatically pop up based on the selection what we did. This place is empty now, group, which means that will be created after we save this routing. The group number will be created there, right? So next is this usage. What is the usage? Usage is to make the routing available for various activities. For example, usage 1 means it is for production. Usage 2 means it is for engineering design. Usage 3 for universal. 4 means it is for maintenance purpose routing. Like that, different routings for different purposes. We use 1 here. And then we have next point, which is called the status. Status is making the routing available for subsequent activities. For what purpose this routing is there? For example, routing status may be at the stage of created, or it may be stage of released, or it may be released general. Many different statuses will be there. So unless we release these orders, this will not be available for our production activities or planning activities. So status can be active or it may be inactive. So using this status, we make it is active or inactive. So it will not be used. For example, we want to create some routings which has to be tested or something. You can create the routing and keep it, but keep it as an inactive condition. So it will not be used. But if a routing is created, but it is not picked for production or anything, now you have to come and check status, whether it is active, released, those things you have to check. So this is one of the key point when the routing has to be picked or not. And then we have this lot size. Lot size is that what is that quantity that is minimum to maximum for which the routing is applicable. For example, to produce one product, there may be two routings, right? There may be two routings. One routing may be in a slow machine, for example. Another routing is for a fast machine. So the slow machine will be used for some 100 quantity produced, slow machine will be used. In that case, you put the routing of 1 to 100, create the routing in the slow machine. Then in the fast machine, you can put this quantity more than 100, which is 101 to what number you want. So depending on the purpose, depending on the quantity, how that routing is applicable also you can decide. Okay, this is many companies, depending on the quantity also the routing will change. Okay, so please take note of this point. And then we have this group counter we already discussed. Then what is this planning work center? Okay, planning work center is the work which is previously created and now it is used for planning and production of the material. Further planning metal is used here. So normally we'll have various work centers created already, right? Normally we would have created more various work centers which is created here. But here the planning work center, right? We can either fill or we can keep it as a blank so that we will refer this work center for planning purpose. That is why it is given here, right? It is only for the planning purpose and evaluation purpose. So again, I ask you, please fill this and test it how it is useful for planning purpose. And then the another is the parameter for dynamic modification. The parameter for dynamic modification here is the screen, which is the integration between PP and QM and SAP. Yeah? This is the integration between PP and QM and SAP. The parameters here, what we enter, that will determine how the inspection type, individual inspection lot, master inspection characteristics have to be picked. Those things will be coming. So because QM is integrating with this discrete manufacturing, please discuss with the QM consultant on how to use this option. Okay, right. So after entering all these things, click the operations. System will take you to the next screen. So here you are having the various operations. For example, sorry, you are having various operation numbers like operation 10, 20, 30, right? So 10 means first operation, 20 means second operation. So why the number is given as 10, 20, 30 in SAP? Because for some of the operations you are giving some 10 operations, right? In between suddenly you want to insert one operation. Sequence should not be changed. Then you can use between 10 and 20 like 11 or 12 like that you can give. To give that option only, line numbers are normally given in SAP like this 10, 20, 30 so that we can insert some other details whenever we need it. This is applicable in BoM, routing, orders, anywhere the numbers will be like this. Now coming to this, this is operation wise, the first operation, second operation, like this the details are there. When you have the first operation, we have the work center details first, right? There are work centers. Which work center we are going to engage, which is the plant, which is default coming from there. Here we are entering the control key. What control key has to be applicable for this operation? What is the description of the operation? That we will be discussing here, right? What is the description we are going to have here? And then we are capturing the what is the setup time, what is the processing time. For example, this particular product, to produce this one number base quantity, I am going to use 10 minutes setup time, 20 minutes is the processing time. That's what we are capturing here, right? So setup time and the processing time. See here there is a column activity type. This activity type will be used to capture the cost, right? Because in this routing when we created, we did not allocate the activity type, so it is not showing here. But normally when you create routing, it is better to assign this activity type so that the cost will be captured properly. Please take note. Just because it is not here, don't think that should not create. There will be activity type, you have to allocate here, right? This is the routing details of operation details. Now let us double click on this operation, right? Double click in this operation. We go into this detailed discussion. Here you see that operation of 0010, and then we have this which is the work center, control key, whatever entered there, they are appearing here. Now here you can see the base quantity, what we saw then one number. That is a quantity that will be produced in the time mentioned as a standard value key, like a setup time or machine time or labor time. Here to produce one number, that quantity will be that to produce one number, setup time is 10 minutes, machine time is 20 minutes. See, for base quantity, if you put 10 and put setup 10 also, that setup, because setup, this is the setup time, that is not going to change based on the what quantity. That will remain the same. You produce 10 or 100, setup time will remain 10 minutes only, right? Setup time means what? After producing 100 products or 200 products, I have to change over. Like that, what is that only setup time? So it is going to remain the same. This one, where do we fix? In the work center formula. Hope you remember in work center formula, setup time has to be fixed as constant, that is defined there. So based on only the processing time will change. For example, one piece 20 minutes, 10 piece means 200 minutes will come here. Like that it will change. Okay. This is the setup time and processing time. Now in the work center, in the standard value key, we mentioned this is the setup machine labor. 3 we entered, that is automatically come in the routing. Now whether you have to enter the details here or not, the standard value key we have the controls, right? Whether it is must be entered, should be entered, like that. If it is must be entered, it is a mandatory field. If you don't enter it, system will not allow you to save the routings. Should be entered means it is a required field. System will give the warning, hey, you did not fill it, that's it. But it will allow you to save it. So that is the difference between must be entered and should be entered. Now here we gave this that based on should be entered or must be entered, whatever it is, we enter the value here. Another is here the unit of measure, the conversion of unit of measure. So here this unit of measure is very important. So here the coefficient what you are giving, for example, header one piece and operation one piece. If the routing unit of measure is, for example, number of pieces, operation unit, for example, it is kgs, right? When we enter that header as 5 kgs, and then the operation as a 3 kgs, 3 pieces means it will be 3 pieces per 5 kg. Like that system will convert. Again, I ask you to put some different numbers in this field and check how this is working. So please practice this. This will be very helpful to fix the routing in different scenarios. So various options are there. I will not explain all the points here, right? You need to practice this kind of points. And then we continue to do these operations where we drill down. Okay, when we scroll down the same page, we are in the same operation page, we are scrolling down. When you're scrolling down, where there are other details also there. For example, we have the inter-operation times. Inter-operation times where we can enter what is the wait time, what is the queue time, what is the move time, all those details we enter. Also there is option called splitting. So splitting is the option where we divide a large production into several smaller lots. If there is 1,000 numbers, but we are not going to produce 1,000 numbers as the same sequence, right? But you have to split like 100, 100, 100. Probably you have to do something in parallel, right? That is what we can do it with this split. So we can split it and then we can manage it. So system will check the number of splits and the individual capacities. What we defined in the work center, it will be there. Also there is an option called overlapping will be here, right? Using the overlapping, the system will pass the process data into the total directly to the next machine or parallel machine. Like that overlap also will be there. So now my suggestion is you please practice these details with the numbers entered. I am just telling these are the fields which will be very useful. Please enter some details and practice it. Main thing what is required, setup time, processing time, that I entered there, I am showing here. But other details are some of the additional things which may be required for various purposes. So please practice them. The required split or what is the number of splits, those things, please practice it. Right. So next, further we are scrolling down. we are seeing the general data here. In this general data screen, we are seeing various details here. What are the details we see? Like a scrap in percentage. So what is the scrap in percentage? This is the amount of scrap that is generated for the operation. So here the production in this operation will be reduced based on the percentage of scrap here. For example, 5% scrap means the 5% quantity will be reduced, right? Again, I suggest you please enter some details here and practice how this is working when you're creating production order, when you confirm the order, when you plan the order. So during planning, during production, during confirmation, what's happening, you need to check, right? And then here we enter some HR details. For example, what is the wage group, wage type for this operation, what are the wage details will be entered. And then this is the cost relevancy. For example, this operation has to be subject to costing or not. Here we will be, if it has to be costed, we have to put this X mark, which is the standard cost estimate relevance. When you put it, system will take it for costing. If you don't put it, this will not be considered costing. So please be careful. When a costing person is selling, costing is not working, means immediately you have to come and check this point. Okay. Okay. Now further we scrolling down, we see this tab of external processing. External processing is we have 10 operations. For example, there is one heat treatment. Heat treatment, there is no internal processing. We want to do it externally. So the same production order, same routing, only one operation has to be done as external means we can use this option, which is called external processing. When you have any external processing, first you have to select this subcontracting. If your operation has to be processed externally, the checkbox will trigger it. Now, based on this external operation, we would have defined with the purchase info record for this. There will be purchasing organization, purchase group details and vendor details are required. Those things will be entered. This specific point I will discuss later when there is a separate topic on how to handle external operation in production. That will be the later lesson. After MRP, other things we will cover it. But now please understand there is an option to enter the external operation details in routing itself. After completing all these things, right, we entered all the operation details. Now we have to go for component assignment. This is the component assignment. The component assignment, when we have these components which are coming from bill of materials, they will be assigned automatically to operation 10, right? All these components will be assigned to automatically operation 10. You will not be able to see them here specifically, but default, I told you in the fundamental itself, right? Now component will be assigned automatically to this what is it, operation 10, right? So here that's what the components are taken from bill of material. If you don't assign any specific component different operation, all these things are defined as basic to the operation 10, the first operation of the routing. And also here during the backflash, when you confirm the first operation, all the components will be consumed. So if you don't do any change, in our operation, some components we will not use in the first operation, will be the second operation like that. As I told, there is option how to do it. When you're doing these creations, we go for this metal assignment. This metal assignment is assigning this material to this routing, right? Because you have the header material, right? This is not component assignment. This is the metal assignment. This operation is assigned to this metal. Here we are seeing it, right? What is the metal is assigned? Just to confirm it, this routing is assigned to this particular material. So now save the button. Routing is saved. After saving the routing, see here, group number is assigned. 5001905 group number is defined, and also what is the date we are given, that is also given there, right? So with this we complete the creation of routing. Now when you are having several materials which are undergoing the same production process, you don't need to create separate routings. Okay, you don't need to create the separate routings. That's what here you can assign the material here, so that system will be allocating the materials. It will use the same routing for this purpose. That is what this allocation metal assignment is used. Now you will be thinking, sir told that control key will be explained during this discussion. Yes, now we are coming to control key, right? We enter the control key, right, for the operation. So what is control key doing? So control key is a very important thing which is controlling various options like scheduling, how to do the capacity requirements, costing, all these things, whether to do or not. These are all controlled by control key. Now we are seeing example of control key PP01, which is in-house production control key. In this control key, here we have the scheduling. Scheduling, when it is marked, system will schedule the operation. Also it will calculate the formula which is coming from the work center. If this is not marked, the operation will not be scheduled. Okay, operation will not be scheduled. And then capacity requirement. If this operation has to be considered for capacity calculations or not. If it is required, we have to tick mark here. If not, leave it. And then again, please here, we cannot use this indicator without scheduling indicator activated. If you want to consider for capacity, scheduling has to be ticked. So these are some of the points which you have to remember, very important when you are setting the routing details. And then third one is the cost. Cost means the operation has to be costed or not. Again, that is also triggered here based on the this control key, right? See, when you enter this control key as a default control key in work center, that will come automatically to routing. In the routing, what are the functions are carried out? These are all the different functions. Okay. So next, we continue this routing itself. Automatic goods receipt. Automatic goods receipt means once the production is confirmed in this operation, goods received from this operation has to happen automatically. Then this automatic goods receipt has to be triggered. And then for this operation, we need to assign inspection characteristics. So after assigning this, if you want to assign some inspection characteristics, this field has to be activated. And then rework. So when this field is activated, and then we can identify if there is a rework case operation, so that we can calculate what is the yield and the rework quantity in this operation, right? That will be happen when you select this activate, right? Okay. And then again, please take note one point here. For the rework quantity entered in operation, no automatic GR will happen even though we activate automatic goods receipt. It must be posted manually. Rework. Only the goods receipt of finished product will happen automatically through this automatic goods receipt. But rework quantity you have to enter. Okay. See, each and every field in control key is very important. Okay. So this is the finally that after setting all the masters, the control key is the major point which is making the link from the master data to the production order. You have to learn all these things very carefully. And then we want to print out these time tickets and also printing confirmation of the orders. All these is we can print it, and also the shop floors to be printed means you have to activate these printing options, right? These are the printing options. And then external processing. We saw that no external processing for the operation. When operation is extended for external operation, a control key has to be created specific to the external operation, where this external processing has to be tick mark. Okay, this has to be tick mark. See that there are many options. If it is scheduled left blank, there is no external operation. If there is a plus sign means external process operation is there. If it is X means it can operate for local and also for external for those things, right? So again, if you want the system to ignore the lead time and schedule as per standard time, activate schedule external operation indicator, right? You have to process them. External operation indicator, you have to process them. So these are the various fields which are available in this, what is it called? Um, Control key, right? Also here you can see when you select these things, entering those details, those things also will be captured here. For example, PP01 here, printing confirmation is ticked here, scheduling is ticked here. Because you have not entered here the external processing, this is blank. See, for the next there is a PP02 external processing. Now if you select it, double click, this page will change for this particular, right? So if I click and see here, PP02 will show plus there for the external operation, but now it is not shown here. You just enter it and check them. Okay. And then in control key, another point is the confirmation. When a milestone confirmation is selected, system will confirm, right, the preceding operations automatically. So again, how to do the confirmations? I want to automatic confirmation one by one. There are many options here again. So if a confirmation required is selected, means the operator has to confirm the operation of each operation details. We can also restrict the user not to enter the operation details at the time of the confirmation. Don't need to confirm it. All these things are possible. Again, what kind of shop floor, what kind of production entry, depending on these things, you have to select these fields. Okay. So that is why the PP consultant should understand the business process. What is the need of business process? According to that, you have to set these fields. Just like that, learning these things is not sufficient. How to apply them is very important. Now we will see how to create a routing, a new routing. So to create a new routing, what is the T code? As usual, let us access the T code through the menu path. Production, master data, routings, then again routing, standard routings. Here we see create routing, CA01. So CA01 is the transaction to create the routing. So to create routing, what we need to have a material. We are going to create routing for GB1005. and this group number will be generated by system, so we don't have any group number there. Also, what is key date? So what is the key date? From which date this task type is applicable? For this you use F1 and see the details. It is showing the date on which task list is added, like that. So please go through this kind of help pages in SAP for any transaction. That is very important. And now so next we'll go to the next one. We entered all the details here. After this, let us go to the end. By pressing the enter, we can go in the transaction. Before that, we will see what is the reference routing. So here we are in the BOM page. Sorry, let us go to the routing page of another material. So the BOM for the routing for GB1004 is shown here. We'll use this as our reference. Okay, right. Now let us go to the create routing page. So that page will see the details. So here we have the material code, plant and date. After entering all these and press enter, now we are in the routing creation header details. We are in the header of the routing. So in the header of the group, this is the gray area that is will be created by the system. Then group description is there that we can define as per our requirement, and usage, for what purpose you are creating the routing, whether it is for production, for design, whatever it is for production, so we selected one. Then what is the status of routing? It is created, release for order, for costing, or release general. If you want to use it for planning, production, for all other things, we have to use released general. Whenever there is a issue in routing picking, when you are creating production order, this is one thing you have to select and check. Then what is the lot size this routing is applicable? So it is applicable from lot size 1 to 9999999. After entering all the header details, let us go to the routing page. Here we see the summary of the header, like which description, what is the lot size, usage, status, what is the valid date, from date to to date, and created on what date, who created it, like those details. Then we go to the operations details. So here we are having the operations 10, 20, 30, 40. Now we know what are the step-by-step methods. We will use the simple routing here. So we will use a work center SG001. Then we will press enter. This is the work center we are going to do. Press enter. So now I go into this here. System is showing this is the first operation 0010, and it is showing the plant 1710 and the work center SG001. The base quantity is 1. Mean to produce one piece, how much time it is going to take. That is what we are going to define. So here machine time is shown as mandatory. So it is showing as mandatory. How this is coming as mandatory? It is coming from the work center what we defined. Let us go and see the work center. So in this SG001 work center, when you go to the standard value key, that parameter, standard value parameters, machine, it is defined as 3 must be generated. So must be generated means this value must be entered when you are creating the routing. So that is why it is showing as a mandatory. So let us enter that value here, 15 minutes per piece. Then press enter. So setup time it is showing as a warning message. So it is not showing as mandatory, but it is showing as a warning message. Enter the standard value setup time. How the warning is coming? Again, we go to the routing. Here it is showing should be entered. So should be entered means it is warning message. Must be entered means error message. So we may enter or we may not enter. System is giving warning message. Because it is defined as should be entered, let us define some value there, 30 minutes. After entering these two details, let us press enter. It will go back to our operation page. So this work center, see the control key has come here. Earlier we did not enter the control key. Now control key has come here. How this control key has come? So for this, again, let us go back to the work center. In the work center, in the default values tab, we define the control key as the default YBP1, that is getting carried over there. And also the standard value parameter unit of measurement minutes is defined. Those things will be carried automatically to the routing. See, this is the purpose of defining each master data clearly. Now control key is there YBP1, and also whatever the timing you define, those timing are available here. That 30 minutes, 50 minutes, 15 minutes, those things are coming here. Right, now we come back here. So we have to describe what is the description here. So let us describe it as like a pre-assembly activities. Like this will define further two work centers, I mean two operations SG003. We press enter. So here it is showing setup time as mandatory. So sorry, it is not mandatory, it is a warning message. So it will let us enter the time here like 15 minutes. Then labor time, it is again warning message. Let us enter 15 minutes. Again, what is the description of this? It is the final assembly activities. Let us enter the description here. After entering the description, so again the control key, timing, whatever enter we are is there. Now we are entering S003. Again, I am entering the timing here, 15 minutes. Like now, because it is warning message, this is the third operation, 15 minutes. And again, that is also warning message, 15 minutes. So after entering, I am seeing here, oh sorry, instead of selecting SD002, I selected S003. Okay, I can enter it and proceed. But for you to show that how the control key is picking, let me delete this line and create it as a new line item. Okay, so let me delete this. So select this line, go and press the delete. So the line will be deleted. So this one lesson also here. Then we'll put SD002. This is the third operation. Press enter. So here mission time is mandatory, right? So how the mandate is coming earlier we learned, and also how the warning message we learned it. So enter these details. Now see control key is come as YBB3 here. How YBB3 is here? Let us go to the work center and see that. So we go to SD002, right? Sorry, I entered A03 here. Now go back and then press enter 02. Now default value it is YBP3. So the control key is coming from this work center default value YBP3. Okay. So now all these details are entered. Now the description is final testing. This third operation is final testing. Now we define all the three operations: timing, control key, and work centers. Okay. The basic setup is done. Okay. So now the routing is defined, and also here we can note there are some fields which are in gray. There are some fields which are editable. For example, this setup time in the second operation is gray, right? So why it is coming as gray? So let us go and see that. In the work center, what is that? The second work center is 003. Right here, the setup time is mentioned as, the rule is defined as may not be entered. Okay, so may not be entered means that is why it is appearing as a gray color, which means that we cannot enter the value in the routing for that particular work center. These things can be defined in the work center itself. So industrial engineering team will define which field has to be filled, which field is not to be filled. At the same time, the first operation labor and third operation setup time, they are in the editable mode. How these things are coming as editable mode? Let us go and check what is the first line work center S001. See the elaborate showing us no checking. No checking means that is a editable page. So these parameters, the rules, right? These are very important for you to understand, which will become editable, which will not become editable, which is mandatory, which is giving us a warning message. This will be helpful when you are defining the work center, so that the user who is creating the work center, which value they have to select, which value they should not enter, which value they should enter, those things can be controlled through work center result through master data. Please note that it is through master data. Then we'll see what are all the components assigned to this work center. By clicking on this allocation, we'll see the components like IP101, OP03. How they are coming? They are coming from the BOM. GB1005, the components are there. So these components are assigned to this routing, right? So now we see that operations, work centers, allocations, everything we saw. Now we saved it. After saving it, the group number is appearing here, which system is creating it. That 5000019, right? 119. So this routing group 5000019 is created for material SGMC TRNG GB1005. This is the full cycle of how to create a work center fresh. Let us see the next screen, how to create work center copying from another routing. How to create routing by copying from another routing. Now let us see how to create a routing copying from another routing. So for this transaction code is CA01. So here I would like to create routing for GB1006. I remove that group because it is going to be created by system. Now what is the date from which we have to create the routing? So I put it as 1/3/2026. Now for copying, we have to select this copy icon, copy from. That copy from I click it. Then what I want to select? I want to select routing because I have to create routing. So select routing and press enter or tick mark. No, that one you click on it. Now system is telling which metal you want to copy. Here I want to copy SGMC TRNG GB1005. That routing I want to copy and create routing for 1006. and which plant also I'm entering, and what is the key date that also I'm entering there, 132025. After entering these things, so I want to create the routing for 1006, copying from 1005. After entering these details, I press OK. System is going to the header page. So here, see here, the group number is blank there, group counter 1. The description, right, it is copying from the previous routing. So we have to go and change that. See, whenever you copy, you have to be very careful. And also overall status. So because we are creating new routing, the status you have to update, whether it is a created or released. So we'll select released, and lot size also updated. So after entering these details, let us press enter. All the other details are copied, right? The work center, control key, operation description, timing, everything is updated. Now, what are the things we need to update? Those things we have to go and update them carefully. See, the copying is very much advantage in terms of effort. At the same time, you have to be careful in verifying the parameters. For example, maybe the work center would have changed, or timing would have been changed, or whatever it is, right? So when there is a major change, it is better to create a new routing. When there is a small changes to create a new routing, we can use this copy from option. That is how we can use this. I entered all these details. Also check what are the components allocated. So this should pick the BOM from the this gearbox 1006. Okay, that is confirmed there. So after updating these details, let me save this. When saving this, system is create the new routing that 5000020, which is a new group for this GB1006 gearbox. So now we created a routing copying from routing of another material. This is a very much shortcut, efficient, but be careful when you are updating the parameters. Right, now we created the routing, we learned what is the control key. Now we after saving it, after some time we are working, there is a change required. As usual, again change is CA02, right? So when you enter the change, we will go the material, what is the plant, please take the date here again. So what is the date from there, that is applicable. And then again, if you want to do this component allocation, or you want to change sequence, all those things we can do here, right? Now you will select which operation we want to do, that also you can select and do the changes. Now when I do these changes, I want to do a change in the component allocation, right? So now what I'm doing, that component allocation page I go, then I, for example, this is one component I selected, and then enter the new assignment. I enter the operation is 10 for this. Now just for testing purpose, I enter the 10 here. Automatically system is then after entering it, system is bringing this 10 here, right? So I'm assigning it. Now I don't want to assign this to 10. I want to put it to some other operation, right? I select this item, and then again I go to this reassignment. There instead of 10 I put is 20 here. For example, operation 20 I change it, right? The reassign, right? When I put it, this select this line item, I enter reassign, then this will pop up. It will say from which operation to which operation to enter. So from 10 to 20 I want to enter. Now we will see how to change some details in routing, and also how to reassign the components. Transaction code is CA02. So I want to change this particular material GB1006, and also in the plant some parameters with respect to some date, right? Here I enter the date again. From that date effective, I want to change the parameters. So I enter all the details, then press enter. System will take us through the routing page, change routing. So here we see the all the details like operations. So first I would like to change some operation timings. The first operation maybe setup time, and then second operation machine time, third operation labor time. Like this something I want to change. So I am changing them. Right? For each one, whatever the parameters we would like to change. So before when we go into transaction, we have to be having all the details with us readily, so that we will update them properly in the system. That to please ensure that we have a proper process defined for this kind of activities. Now let us go and see the components. See here we can see the components allocated for this. As we learned, all these components are assigned to the first operation 0010 by default. But in some processes where the first operation may take 1 hour, second operation may take maybe after 1 hour. In that case, why should I carry all the components during the first operation itself? For example, this CP1015, CP1016, I need only during second operation. So what I do, I select this CP1015, and then I would like to assign it to the operation 20. So I go to the new assignment. Here I enter activity 0020. Okay. So what will happen? This component will be assigned to the second operation. Similarly, I want to assign CP1016 that also should to the second operation. Here I go and assign it to new assignment 0020. So like this, when I do it, I don't need to pick these metals during the first operation. I can pick them only during the second operation. Also, we can do the backflush here. See that tick mark here. If I do the tick mark, we can do the backflush settings from routing itself. Earlier we saw the backflush in metal master, then work center. Now it is possible in the routing also. So we reassigned the operations, and also we know how to do the backflush here. So after completing these things, then we can save the routing, right? So this is applicable in various business productions processes where components need not be allocated in the first operation, but they need to be allocated maybe second, third, or fourth, last operation, whatever it is, right? Now we saved the routing, and also, I mean, in this activity, we changed some details in the parameters of routing, and also reassign the components. And then there is a routing which you don't want it to continue further. So I want to put the deletion flag. So now CA98, when you put the metal master, then there is a deletion flag option is there. You can add deletion flag, and also whether log has to be created for this or not. That's also we trigger it and do it. Like this, we can delete the routings. Okay. Now we will see how to delete a routing from system. So to delete the routing, first you have to go to the change routing. So now I want to delete this routing GB1004. So I go to CA02, and then we go inside to the header of this routing. Here I go to the deletion flag. So I selected the deletion flag, and it's showing the delete completely to reorganize run in the reorganize run. So please read these kind of help messages from SAP. I selected the deletion flag and then save it. So now this routing is no more available for further process, but I want to remove it from the system. How to do it? For that, what I do, so I will go to the another transaction which is called CA98. See here the menu path is also shown here. Please go through that. CA98 deletion without archiving, right? CA98, I select it and go inside. So which routing? That is GB1004 plant and also the group. And here, what are all the, I mean, this is the deletion flag. So I have to put that. This was the routing with the deletion flag. I select it, and then I proceed here with the selected parameters. So now execute this transaction. System will delete it completely. Means it is showing where and all it is getting used. Then I continue it. The system will delete this particular uh, routing from the system. This is how we delete the routing. So first we have to go to the change, set the deletion indicator in the header page, then come to CA98, and then do the reorganization of this routing. So the routing is no more available in the system. This is how you have to remove the routing in the system. So I entered and save it, then automatically 20 would have been assigned. So please practice those kind of changes. Then I want to do the display of the routing. How do we do the display of routing? CA0. Now we'll see display the routing. The transaction is CA03. You can see it from the menu path CA03. Now I go and enter the material, but which we just now deleted and reorganized 1004. See, now system is telling it is no more available. So we have to create, or we have to change the selection parameter, right? So the deletion also we ensured that is not there by display. Now I'm going and selecting the next material GB1005. Here also it is showing the same. Why? Because the group, no, because it's the wrong group I entered. So better I remove that group, then press enter. Now system is taking me to the operations page of that routing. So CA03 is to display. Here we ensured the deleted routing is no more there. And also whenever we want to display routing of metal with the wrong group, system will not show. And also we have to enter the proper parameters. Here we check all the details like a header item, description, operations, setup time, processing time, component allocation. All these things we can check when you are displaying the routing. So whenever we have any problem, so we have to go to the display mode. See, I observed that many people, whenever they want to see the details, they use the change transaction code like CS02 or CS02 like that. Please don't follow that. Whenever you want to see some details, use the display options like CS03, CS03 like that. right? Just enter the material, then we can see that. After that, I want to print out all the routings. How to do it? Printing of routing can be done through transaction called CA51, where the routing normally it's created with a task type of n, material numbers what you put, what is the plant, what is from which date we have to need it. All these details when you enter, many other options also there, right? When you enter them, when you execute them, you'll see the list of the routings. It will pop up in the system. And then we want to do some mass change in routing. For example, this work center to another work center I want to change. I want to select which kind of routings we need, or from one metal to another metal I want to select and change. Various options are there. Again, I'm not going to show that individually how to do these things. I am telling you this is the transaction which is available. I ask you to practice these things. Okay, so this is how to do the mass change. This is an example of how to do the mass change of work center in these routings. Now we'll see how to do the mask change of details in the routing. For example, I display the routing of this GB1005. I check this work center SG003. I want to replace this work center in many routings, for example. For that, how do I do that? I go there, see the menu path here. To replace that as mask, it is the CA85. Under mask changes, CA85. So I click on this. So which work center I want to change? I want to change this SG003 to SG001. This is one which I want to change. I can do it for one metal or many metal. One metal means I can do it with the CA02. But mass changes I can do using this transaction. Which from which date that I enter, which routing type, that is N, also enter. The materials, what are all the materials, the range we can give here. Okay, because here I'm doing for one metal, I'm putting this one metal only. Now I enter it. Now I keep going because I enter all the details, I check to them. Now I am ready to proceed. Okay, so after entering all those details, I go inside. System is showing the details to be changed. SG03 to SG01 it's showing. So I'm just keeping the display for our reference. Okay, now I come here. I select that particular, line item, that which object I want to change. 0020 I want to change. I press replace work center. So now system is showing routing is saved with group because there is a change is done, right? It is saved with the group. This change, what is that material number it is showing. Now let me go back and see the routing again because we did the change, right? See now that SG03 has been changed to SG003, sorry, SG001, right? So it has been replaced. So this is how we can do the change. And then I want to take the mass print of many routings. So for that, transaction code is CA51. Please use this menu path CA51. Okay, now I take it, and also you see there CA60 task list changes. You want to see any changes, you can see, but here now let us focus on CA51. So here I want to see all the routings of metals which are starting with SGMC star. Okay, so I remove the group, otherwise only that group will be shown. So you have to be very careful when you are putting the selection parameters. After entering all these details, let me proceed. Okay, so see there are many other parameters which according to the requirement we can select them to display here. Okay, in the print option. Now I, after checking this SGMC starting, now we execute it. When I execute, system is showing what is the material wise, the first operation, second operation, which work center, how much time for each, all the details are getting displayed here. This is one option, right? Now we have to take the list of all the routings from the system. This is very useful to get the details of routings collectively or for one particular work center. Like this, we can take the routing details. For the benefit of the learners, here I summarize all the key transactions relevant to the routing, like create routing CA01, create routing, copy from another metal CA01, change routing CA02, which can be used not only for this but also to reassign the components, display routing, mask change with the CA85, delete routing, it has to be done with the CA02 and CA98 or 99, and print a list of routing CA51, and where used to list is CA80, which we discussed in detail during the work center session, that is the last session. In this session, we discussed the concepts of routing, like what are the task type in PP and how they are related to routing, what are the features of routing, how routing structure is applicable in business, how routing and work centers are related, how routing and bill of materials are related, what is the comparison of routing and rate routing. Sorry, that we have not discussed, that we will discuss later. And then managing routing, how to create routing, control routing, change and display routing, component assignment and reports. Now to ensure our understanding on the current session, let us have some quiz. Please go through and find out answer for them. Answers will be discussed in the next session. What are the key parameters defined in a routing? Quality inspection characteristics can be designed in a routing, true or false. Components are assigned to the first operation by default, true or false. Can we define scrap in the output of operation through routing? What will be the status of routing to be used in production order? A routing can be assigned to a single material, true or false. Now we'll see the assignment for this session. Please create the routing for all the products considered for a case study. Case study means you would have started to create the materials, finished goods, bill of materials, work centers. Using those materials and work centers, your materials, don't disturb the training materials, your materials, then start to create routing for those materials and also run reports for those materials and see how the output is coming. After discussing and understanding routing, we'll discuss production version in the next session. And please practice with the routing creation and also running the reports. Whatever the clarifications you need, please put them in the comment section. They will be answered then and there. Meanwhile, if you would like to hire a dedicated server to practice along with me, contact me in the following email address. Meanwhile, I hope this session was useful to you to understand the concepts of routing and also to continue to learn. The same benefit may be arrived to your friends and colleagues. So please inform them about this course and let them also subscribe to get this benefit. Nandri, Vanakkam. See you in the next session. Take care. Bye.